Honored guests, please rise. Please remain standing for our national anthem. that's the official part. The 2020 and 2021 MBA commencement ceremonies are now called to order. Please be seated. The invocation will be given by University Chaplain Dr. Craig Coker.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we give thanks for these graduates who have finished their course of study. We are grateful for all those who have walked at their side, for the friendships they have made, the insights they have found, the knowledge they now possess, and the challenges they have overcome. Give them a right pursuit of goodness and truth. Keep them attentive to conscience, servants of the common good, and gracious and humble with all. Amen.
Honored guests, it is my privilege as president of the university to welcome you to this ceremony awarding degrees to graduates of the University of Richmond, Richard S. Reynolds Graduate School of Business. After a year unlike any other, I am most grateful for this opportunity to pause and rejoice in each other's company, actually live and in person. Thank you so much for joining us for this very special celebration. We're proud to share with you the accomplishments of these students whom we honor today. We know that sacrifice and hard work by today's graduates stand behind this moment, especially during the past 3 semesters as we have navigated the pandemic. We applaud you, classes of 2020 and 2021, for demonstrating such passion, determination, and grace. It is also a privilege to express the university's gratitude to the families, friends, and colleagues who have provided today's graduates with tremendous guidance and support. We salute you and thank you as we welcome you to this great occasion. Graduates, today, as we recognize the individual and collective achievements of the Richmond MBA classes of 2020 and 2021, we look forward with great hope and anticipation to your continued accomplishments in the years ahead. I am confident that your education has prepared you to make a difference in the world and in the lives of others, and I am grateful that as leaders in the future in a global business world, you will help the university to fulfill its mission of promoting responsible leadership and the common good. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, President Crutcher, and thank you for your leadership of this great institution. As Dean of the Robbins School of Business, and on behalf of our faculty and staff, some of whom are here today, I would like to add my personal welcome to this graduation ceremony for the MBA class of 2020 and 2021. As soon-to-be alumni of this outstanding university and program, we look forward to following you and your continued professional success, as well as the positive impact that you will have on your organizations, communities, and society. This past year has reminded us of the value of relationships and taught us the power of grace as each of us has navigated countless challenges. I am confident that the education that you have received and the bonds that you have forged with one another will serve you well as we emerge into a new world. Congratulations, Richmond class of 2020 and 2021. Well done. At this time, I'd like to call Associate Dean Rich Bolger back to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. It is now my pleasure, as Associate Dean of the Richmond MBA, to introduce Alexandra Wiles, our 2020 student commencement speaker. Alex was chosen to speak today by her fellow 2020 graduates. Alex and I have not met in person, as she was completing the program just as I arrived. I did, however, have the chance to sit in via Zoom on her final capstone presentation. When she finished, I said to Debbie Fisher, "That was extremely impressive. I need to meet Alex Wiles." Alex presented a series of recommendations on the complex topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion flawlessly to her client. She was engaging and full of facts and insight. We would all be well served to communicate in such a professional and compelling manner. Please join me in welcoming Alex Wiles.
It is so great to see you all for our 10-year reunion. I joke, of course, it only feels like 10 years since we were all last together, but I'm completely serious about how wonderful it is to celebrate with you all today. On behalf of the class of 2020, I would like to thank all of our friends in the class of 21 for letting us crash your party. I'm incredibly excited to serve as the opening act for Dr. Natasha Knight, who truly exemplifies the best of our program when it comes to professional excellence and a personal commitment to lifelong learning. Many thanks to the loved ones who have supported our journey through this program: spouses, parents, siblings, children, extended family, friends who feel like family, coworkers, our MBA faculty, staff, and mentors. I think most of us would be hard-pressed to claim that we reached this point entirely on our own. I also want to recognize the life milestones we've navigated through our time together: engagements, marriages, new homes, new jobs, new children of the four-legged and two-legged varieties, and the losses. Several among us have lost loved ones since we first met. We hold you and yours in our hearts. I hope we all might take a moment to remember Dr. Paul Kleichman, an outstanding educator with whom most, if not all of us, had the opportunity to learn. Despite all of the valuable demystification of assets and liabilities, the most vibrant memory I have of Dr. Kleichman was this quiet expression of pride on his face during one mid-class break when he shared a video of his daughter's senior recital in which he accompanied her on the dulcimer. It's that kind of commitment to our authenticity and care that, for me, will be the hallmarks of our time together. I'll admit I was more than a little apprehensive walking into the first day of opening residency. I intentionally packed only black and white clothing for the weekend. I didn't want to come off too quirky. I held one very me accessory in reserve, a vintage necklace made of fruit-shaped glass beads. By Sunday, I was feeling gutsy enough to wear the darn thing, and I came down for breakfast and someone said, "Nice necklace." It was a small comment with a huge impact. Validation. Empowering people to be their authentic selves doesn't always require heroic effort, but oh, the relationships it builds and the possibilities it inspires. Fast forward to international residency in Zagreb, and an idea hatched on a tour bus that we should have Croatia superlatives. While I may never fully forgive the conspirators for leaving me alone at the head of a table in a literal palace to announce these awards on our final evening, I am doing my best to live up to my own moniker, most likely to run off with a Croatian opera troupe. I've started Zoom voice lessons last fall, so working on that. We are all such different people, but we accomplished impressive and fun things when we built each other up, united our creative powers, and set aside thoughts of what was typical or expected. While not all of us were on that trip, and unfortunately some of us did not have the opportunity to venture abroad together, one final experience is one that I believe we all had at some point over the past couple of years. I can remember a critical evening in data analytics when I rushed in late because an important client meeting had run long. Before I could boot up my computer and realized I had no hope of catching up on my own, 3 or 4 swivel chairs glided in close as several of you swooped in to help. And then, during our brief and precious break, you stuck around to answer the questions that I hadn't had the chance to even think of yet. The gifts of care and concern were given so freely and generously and speak to the kind of people we have been fortunate to call our classmates. The past year has tested our capacity to care. We have experienced such loss and grief, fatigue and frustration. But to me, being courageous means committing to our concern for others and finding ways, big and small, to lift one another up, to use our creativity and all our gifts, yes, to accomplish the goal, and yes, to solve the problem, but to do so in a way that recognizes the impact of our actions on others. If we didn't realize it already, the past year has reminded us that public health demands it. Equity and justice demand it. You each possess the necessary courage. I know because I have been the grateful recipient and witness of your gifts of creativity and concern for the past 2 years. I cannot wait to witness all that you each accomplish in the months and years ahead, both personally and professionally. And who knows, maybe we'll get together for that 10-year reunion. Thank you for the honor and the opportunity to express my gratitude today. Congratulations, class of 2020 and 2021.
Thank you, Alex. Well done. And thank you for sharing your personal and insightful comments. I can now tell Debbie Fisher that I have met Alex Wiles. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Natasha Knight, our 2021 student commencement speaker, who was chosen to speak today by her fellow graduates. If I were to list all of Natasha's many accomplishments, I would take up all of her allotted speaking time. Among other things, she holds degrees from Howard University, the University of Pittsburgh, a PhD from Johns Hopkins, and of course now a Richmond MBA. She was also recently awarded the NABO Student Entrepreneur of the Year, is an accomplished and dedicated career coach, and recently has been promoted to a critical management position at Altria. Please join me in welcoming Natasha Knight.
Good evening. It is an honor to deliver the 2021 Student Commencement Address to this incredibly talented student body. If you told me 20 years ago that I'd be here with you today, speaking to my fellow MBA graduates, I would not have believed you. I entered college knowing that I wanted to have a career in health, and I considered multiple options before finally embarking on what has been a wonderful career in public health. At the same time, I remember thinking that I was not cut out for business and intentionally avoiding business classes. For many years, I let fear keep me from seeing how public health and business could be the perfect career combination. The experiences of avoiding something out of fear and finally earning my MBA have taught me some valuable lessons. One of the most important lessons I've learned is to embrace risk. Embracing risk requires you to be okay with taking action in spite of your fear of all of the unknowns. That can be a little difficult for those of us who like to be in control and who like to plan as far ahead as possible. Each of us took a risk when we enrolled in the MBA program. There was no way to know whether our investments of energy, time, and money would pay off in the short or the long run. While we came into the program excited and up for the challenge, I'd wager that all of us has had a moment or two, whether at opening residency, while working on our capstone projects, or at some point in between when we asked ourselves, is all of this really worth it? We didn't know that a pandemic would force us to leave our familiar classrooms and spend hours looking at each other on Zoom. Some of us had to endure the disappointment of a canceled international residency trip, and none of us were prepared for the news that Professor Kleichman had unexpectedly passed away. These are the unknowns that we could not have imagined, but had to figure out how to manage. This has been a perfectly imperfect experience. We collected remarkable people. We gained new skills and knowledge that we could apply right away. Some of us started businesses or made career changes. Some of us got a turbo boost to our time management skills when we experienced major life events like moving into a new home, getting engaged or married, or having a baby while in the program. We not only survived, we thrived through it all. And for that reason, I believe the risk was well worth it. As we leave our beautiful campus today, remember that the risk you took and the benefits and lessons of the MBA program aren't just for you. During the past year and following the tragic killings of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd, and more recently, the Atlanta spa shootings, there has been an unflattering but absolutely necessary spotlight on the inequities that exist in our country due to systemic racism. I don't expect either of us to single-handedly solve this massive problem, but I do believe that we each can play a role in creating remedies and solutions. The experience of earning an MBA is an unimaginable privilege for so many in our society. Some of you here today come from families for which having the opportunity to attend college and pursue the career of your choice is a norm established generations ago. In contrast, my paternal, maternal grandparents and great-grandparents were sharecroppers who only had the opportunity to receive, at most, a very basic elementary level education. College education and career choice in my family began with my mother and her siblings, but only after they spent much of their childhoods sharecropping and attending segregated schools. I am the first person in my family to earn a graduate degree. I don't share this to gain your pity or your sympathy. I share it to help you see the inequities that systemic racism can produce for people of color. With that context, I implore you to apply an equity and diversity lens to your future endeavors. For example, volunteer to educate young children of color on the fundamentals of personal finance to help build their financial literacy. Be intentional about seeking out and supporting small businesses owned by women and people of color when you need a new service. For the MBA program administrators, I encourage you to do the same when looking for instructors, guest speakers, and mentors so that you can continue to broaden the perspectives shared with students. Yes, there will be times when being around people who are different from you will be uncomfortable. But we can't grow when we are comfortable. And if research shows that companies are better off when they embrace inclusion, diversity, and equity, I believe the same to be true of our program, university, and society at large. Finally, remember that you are the CEO of your own career. You're calling the shots. Don't let fear or others define career success or carve out your career path for you. The only limits that exist on you and the impact you can make are the limits that you believe to be true. It has been my absolute pleasure to learn and work alongside you, and I wish you the absolute best in the next phase of your career journey. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Natasha, for inspiring us tonight. We are all very fortunate to have heard your powerful words. Thank you. I would next like to take a moment to congratulate the class of 2020 outstanding MBA student, Kelly McKenna. Kelly's an accomplished engineer and strategic thinker. We're fortunate to count her among our graduates. We were not able to gather in person last year to congratulate her, so I invite you to join me in doing so now. Congratulations, Kelly. I am pleased to announce that the 2021 Outstanding MBA Student of the Year goes to Tom Buchanan. The professor nominating Tom shared the following. Tom's work ethic is fantastic. He gets more done than any other student I have worked with. His capstone will likely be a benchmark for analytically heavy capstones in the future. His attitude is always positive and energetic. He looks to gain a true understanding of how things work, not just enough to manipulate the problem of the day, but to really understand the entire class of problems. I'm quite sure, Tom, that these qualities will serve you well in the future. Join me in congratulating Tom. I now wish to take a moment to congratulate the 2020 Outstanding MBA Professor, Dr. Ed Cook. Ed is a dedicated teacher with a student-centered approach to all he does at the Robbins School. His students all express gratitude for having the opportunity to learn from him. Ed was not able to be recognized last year. Please join me in doing so now. Congratulations, Ed. I'm now humbled to have the opportunity to announce that our MBA students have chosen Dr. Paul Kleichman as the 2021 Outstanding Professor of the Year. We're honored today to have his wife Margaret and their children Catherine and Miles here to accept his award. I did not have the opportunity to know Paul as long or as well as many of you did. I did, however, get to know him well enough to know he was a teacher's teacher. I was fortunate to have a single, and it turns out quite revealing, interaction with him. When I arrived at the Robbins School, I arranged a Zoom call with each faculty member teaching in the MBA program in the fall semester, including, of course, Paul. When I spoke to Paul, I introduced myself, asked him about his course, and offered to help in any way useful. Paul, in his very matter-of-fact manner, said, "Great, meet me in my classroom tomorrow at 5 o'clock and bring your computer." I had no idea what to expect, but did as requested. When I arrived, Paul instructed me to go to the back of the room and set up my computer and take on the role of a student. I again did as requested, not yet knowing that Paul considered students to be the most important people in the Robbins School. He then proceeded to practice his lecture using the newly installed classroom technology until it met his satisfaction and I could hear and see everything he was presenting. I then attended the first hour of his class that first night. What I saw was an accounting lecture executed like clockwork, with every student engaged in a topic only a select few of us consider really, really interesting. It was only after Paul's passing that I realized how fortunate I was to have experienced being one of Paul's students, if only for a few moments, that night he practiced in the classroom. Please join me in recognizing 2021 MBA Professor of the Year, Dr. Paul Kleichman. Now please join me in welcoming Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Jeff LeGros.
Graduation is such a special occasion because it gives the university an opportunity to recognize those who have completed the requirements of the faculty and who have fulfilled the expectations of the entire university community. Our warm congratulations go to all members of the Reynolds Graduate School of Business, class of 2020 and 2021. We now prepare to present them with their diplomas. Will the graduating class please rise? That's all graduates, 20 and 2021. On behalf of the faculty of the Richard S. Reynolds Graduate School of Business, I have the honor to present these candidates for the degree of Master of Business Administration. Dr. Crutcher.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees and upon the faculty's recommendation of completed requirements, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Business Administration of the University of Richmond with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto. You may be seated.
Travis M. Allen. William Christopher Baber, Jr. Christopher Michael Bolin. P. Holden Bryant. Thomas Andrew Buchanan. Kendall Martin Burgess. Michael Yen Chen. Elliot Lander Cleveland. Christopher R. Copeland. Jack Ronald Cox III. Dennis Washburn Kraft. Craig Lewis Croce. Mangesh Vijay Deshpande. Brian Michael Donovan. Zachary Hain Felder. Michael Francis Gaetano. Francesco Ghiberti. Nicholas William Gober Keller. Colin Brady Halligan. Megan Martial Howell. Christopher Alexander Hudson. Ariel Olivia Heiderkhan. Brian Dominic Ivasauskis. Joshua Mark Jeffries. August Daniel Kesar. Marisa Elizabeth Keller. Natasha Ann Knight. Benjamin Alexander Court. Hanson Lee. Paul David Lozo. Lauren Bliss Jones. Kelly Lee McKenna. Scott Nelson McQuitty. Alexander Michael Merrick Tagore. Caroline Bennett Rice. William Wesley Rice. Stephanie Rebecca Sachs. Kwame Opari Searchy Berkey. Caroline Francis Stedman. James Hunter Sumner. Tong Sun. Morgan Elizabeth Tierney. Joseph V. Trapani. Brian David Veazey. Abigail Catherine Worley. Alexandra Taylor Wiles. Stephanie Weinbrenner. Colin Edwards Witt. Noah Cronin Yates. Garrett Lawrence Zonick.
Honored guests, join me in saluting the graduated classes of 2020 and 2021. Our benediction tonight will be given by 2019 MBA graduate, Mr. Josh Jeffries, Jewish chaplain and director of religious life.
Now, as you go, may God bless you with courage to better the world for yourselves and for others through the wisdom you have gained, and preserve your commitment to truth and justice in the face of the world's sorrows, granting you patience and grace to navigate life's difficult moments, an open heart and a warm mind to appreciate and cherish the most precious things in life. And may God bestow on you peace and surround you in love today and every day. Amen.
Honored guests, this concludes the graduation ceremony. Please remain seated as the platform party recesses. Thank you and good evening.
Congratulations.